but that 88 is pulling away.
Earnhardt, Johnson, Menard, Blaney, third-generation star, Dale Earnhardt Jr. brings him to the flag. Checkered flag, waving, it's over. It's Earnhardt. Earnhardt trying to cover all spots.
Oh, yeah! Good job, Junebug.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. Checkered flag at Talladega.
Why is this one so much fun? Because your grin told so many stories on your cool-down lap.
It's just real emotional. I haven't won here in a long time. It was my daddy's birthday a couple days ago. It's just real emotional, man.
My nerd world.
And welcome to it for the Dale Jr. Race Preview Podcast. I'm your host this week, John Justice, and coming off of an okay all-star race. Not my favorite race of the year by any stretch of the imagination, and we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll look back just for a few minutes to last week's all-star race, but mostly in preview of this weekend's Coke, or as Dale Jr. likes to call it, World 600. I'm actually really excited about the race on Sunday, and I can say with some confidence that I'm going to have a pretty good prediction for this weekend, and I will take you right up until my prediction at the end of the podcast. You're going to be hearing from Dale Jr. himself in this podcast this week. Dale Jr. sat down for a special Dirty Mo Radio Dale Jr. sit-down podcast and recorded on Friday afternoon. Friday, there was no track practice, no track activity at all on Friday. And because of that, Dale Jr. was over at Junior Motorsports. They were having an open house, and he sat down and got behind the mic with the guys that host the Dirty Mo Radio Dale Jr. download, and had some really interesting insight and words into the car this weekend. I've got quite a bit of practice information. Qualifying didn't go the way that we wanted it to go. We'll talk a little bit about that. But be that as it may, we have 600 miles to get it done this weekend, and I'm really, really excited for tomorrow's race. Let's talk a little bit about the All-Star race. You know, the All-Star race is such an interesting an interesting exhibition race. You know, I get excited for the for the Budweiser Shootout now. The Sprint Unlimited. I get really excited for that race, mostly because we've been in the off season, and it's Daytona, and that racing is really exciting. If you're going to be doing an exhibition race, that's the type of track I think you need to be doing it at. I argued last week that if you're going to do an all-star race, man, you need to do it at Talladega. If you want just a good, solid, entertaining race, you get those guys racing for $1 million at a track like Talladega, you are going to get an exciting race. They have to keep trying these different gimmicks for the All-Star race. And it was confusing, which made it interesting. The racing didn't quite turn out the way that they had hoped. I think it would have gone a lot better had the 14. I'm sorry, not the 14, the 42 of Kyle Larson. Had Kyle Larson not stuffed it into the wall battling with Joey Logano, I think we would have had a much better finish. Dale Jr. dropped back on the closing laps and allowed Brad Keselowski to pass him because he was hoping that if a caution came out, he would have been able to start on the outside. And TJ Majors, Dale Jr.'s spotter, actually said during the Door Bumper Clear podcast this week that he really thought they had a shot to win it because they were one of the first cars that were on new tires. But, the race in and of itself, I've always had kind of an issue with, and I've talked about that. I talked about it last year. I talked about it last week, so I won't be too redundant in my thoughts on the All-Star race. But every race is an All-Star race when it comes to NASCAR. What makes NASCAR special and what makes it unique and what drives, at least for me, my desire to want to catch every single race live is that chase for the championship. There's something on the line. These guys already make a ton of money. That's not a dig on them. I think they work. They're worthy of it, and they work for every penny. But be that as it may, winning $1 million, it just doesn't. It doesn't carry. At least for me, it doesn't carry any kind of weight. So it doesn't add. It doesn't really put anything at risk apart from bragging rights. I think it would be really interesting, and I'm sure a lot of people would probably protest this. And I doubt NASCAR would ever do it. But I think it would be really interesting that if the person that won the All-Star race got an extra seat in the chase. I don't know. You have to qualify for it, for the All-Star race, and you take all the other points away and you make that race one that, you know what, you win the All-Star race and you will end up getting seated last, but you'll be in the chase. I think that would be really, treat it like a regular race. I know they'll never do it, and that's probably gimmicky in and of itself, but it's part of the problem that I've always had with the All-Star race. It's just there's never really anything on the line. The lead-in races were really good. The races to get in to the All-Star race, for those that hadn't qualified for it, those were awesome races. And I agree with a lot of these drivers that while I enjoy night races, it seems like the day racing at Charlotte is a heck of a lot better than the night racing is. And we'll certainly see what shakes out as we move into the evening in the World, doing that thing with my fingers, 600 on Sunday afternoon. I will say this. I was annoyed that the sprint fan vote ended up voting in two drivers, in Danica Patrick and Chase Elliott. I was glad to see Chase Elliott get in, simply because next to Dale Jr., my second favorite driver is quickly becoming Chase Elliott. I just like him. I like him a lot. A distant second, but I find myself rooting more and more for Chase if Dale Jr. runs into trouble. And really, it's just come about for the past couple of races where Dale Jr. has had some the wrecks and had the issues and wasn't able to race anymore. And I want to follow somebody, so I've been paying closer attention to Chase Elliott. But it was just kind of annoying that both those drivers ended up getting voted in via the sprint fan vote. And my understanding is the reason they did that was because they wanted to round out the field of 20 cars, and they couldn't do that unless they added one more person. So they allowed two people to end up getting voted in via that fan vote. It was clear last weekend, though, that the car is still lacking some speed, and that is, again, sort of indicative of all of Hendrick Motorsports. The cars just don't take off fast. They just don't seem to have that straightaway speed they used to, at least not compared with the Fords and Toyotas right now. It seems as if during the races they're able to go and fight their way towards the front, and they're able to make something out of their cars and eventually get there. The parity comes about the longer the race goes for Hendrick Motorsports, in my opinion. But I think that's part of the reason why we didn't qualify well on Thursday. What's he starting 21st, I think, on Sunday's race? Nope, it's 25th. He's starting 25th in Sunday's race. I don't know. When Dale Jr. qualifies anything worse than 15th or 16th, I don't pay as close enough attention. The good news is it's a really, really long race, and I believe they're going to get it done. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But, that third-place finish in the All-Star race was great. It still didn't seem like they had the speed that they wanted, or that me as a fan that I wanted to see, and I think it was part of the gimmick of the All-Star race that got him that finish, because the car just, when the race started, Junior just fell back and just couldn't go anywhere. And that's been different. The first part of the season, you would see them make gains, and you could watch during the race them slowly creep up. And it just seems like over the course of the past month, they just have not had that speed. I think it's going to change on Sunday. I'll tell you why coming up. But the most important thing that they took out of the All-Star race, and it was clear in that podcast of the Dirty Mo Radio Dale Jr. sit-down podcast, of which I'm going to play you some audio from here in just a moment. It's clear that it made a difference. Dale Jr. said as much in the podcast, that they got a lot of confidence coming out of that race last weekend, heading into this World 600. And this is a race that Dale Jr. desperately wants to win, and it's one that owes him one. This is the one where Dale Jr. ended up running out of gas on that last lap with Steve Letarte, and it just was such a heartbreaker. I think arguably this race is up there, if not in the top two of significant races that Dale Jr. wants to win. And he mentioned that as well. You really need to go listen to it. I pulled that audio from it that I'll share with you in a moment. But when you get a chance, you need to go listen to the Dale Jr. sit down. That was one of the best recent interviews that I've heard from Dale Jr. in a long, long time. He was so relaxed. being outside the track, being at Junior Motorsports. He told some amazing stories and really got into why this race is so significant for him. So definitely go and listen to the Dale Jr. Sit Down on the Dirty Mo Radio podcast. You can go and find it on iTunes. So let's talk a little bit of merchandise. If you go to NASCAR.com or if you go to DaleJr.com, and again, if you're looking for Dale Jr. gear and you don't know what you're specifically wanting to get, you really need to go to both websites because they carry different items. The majority of the nationwide Stars and Stripes paint scheme, and this is the special paint scheme he's running this weekend. That gear is available on both sites, but really I'm looking at it at DaleJr.com. You have your hat, your T-shirt, and then, of course, your variety and sizes of die-cast cars. I'll talk a little bit about the paint scheme here in a moment. There's also a few new T-shirt designs that are out. A multi-patriotic sort of camouflage-esque weathered shirt, a Dale Earnhardt Jr. shirt. There is a... it's pretty funny. It's got Dale Jr. and Gus on the back, his new dog, and it's a Dale Jr. Whisperer shirt. So they're marketing Gus now. Of course, Killer passed away last year, which was sad for a lot of his fans because, you know, we being attached to Junior, were kind of attached to Killer, and we knew how much Killer meant to him, and Gus now sort of carries on the pet sort of carries on with the pet tradition of Dale Jr. And you know, Gus is a dog that he and Amy picked out together. Amazing looking dog. And so there's a T-shirt for that available up at the website. Some new Dale Jr. standard paint scheme T-shirts. So if you're in the market again for some new Dale Jr. gear, you can go on by either DaleJr.com or NASCAR.com and pick up some items. And I think that the Stars and Stripes paint scheme is going to be the same one that they're going to be running in Daytona for the July race. Because when you go to the Dale Jr. official website and it talks about the patriotic paint scheme, it says that this will launch the 5th annual NASCAR American Salute Initiative. It runs 7 weeks, Memorial Day to Independence Day, and it's the industry's collective expression of reverence, respect, and gratitude for those that served and continue to serve and defend our nation today. Nationwide and Earnhardt worked together on the paint scheme, unveiled it on the media social accounts on Monday, and I'll give you what the inspiration was for it in a moment. The most notable feature on the Nationwide Stars and Stripes paint scheme will be on the windshield. Typically features Earnhardt's name. It is being replaced by the name of Lance Corporal Aaron Reed. It's part of NASCAR's 600 Miles of Remembrance. All 43 drivers will honor United States Armed Forces members who have fallen in service for their country. Reed was a native of Ohio, was a member of Lima Company, and was killed in action August 3rd, 2005 in Iraq. Earnhardt and Nationwide have invited Lance Corporal Reed's mother, aunt, and sister to attend the race as guest. In addition, Travis Williams, the only surviving member of Aaron's squad, will join Nationwide and the Reed family at the race. Lance Corporal Reed's family has also set up a scholarship fund in his honor, and over the last 10 years, 47 $1,000 scholarships have been awarded to students from Aaron's high school in southeastern in Lancaster, Ohio. And there's an address on DaleJr.com where you can go and send donations. And look, this is another reason why I love NASCAR so much. When we, at a time when we're in the middle of this election process, and I'm not going to go there, but at a time we're in the middle of this election process, and I host a weekly news talk radio show. Okay, so, I talk about this all the time. But, at a time when the nation is so divided in ways that I never could have imagined, 8 years ago, the country is just so divided right now on so many different issues and so many stupid issues too. I love my NASCAR. I love being a Dale Jr. fan, and this is a part of it. The fact that NASCAR does so much, and the drivers and the teams and the fans do so much to honor what is most important. And, as we head into Memorial Day and remember those who gave the ultimate sacrifice and the families that are missing their loved ones who they've lost, it is so